What's up, fellas? Coming to you early today for Mike Your Mentor because obviously it's Super Bowl Sunday and I don't want to interrupt anybody's love of the game, um, or it would just be too late like the other night after the game to post something. So Sundays are my life, or actually, I'm sorry, Sundays are the Sunday sermon. And to be honest, I'm a little I don't know, nervous about this one. I don't know why. I've kind of been just sitting here for the last 15 minutes trying to think through this and what I can say because I'm going to be talking about what it was like to be raised by a single mom, and I want to honor my mom, uh, but I want to be truthful as well about that struggle. So if you're watching this for the first time, right, welcome to my page, Mike Your Mentor. So the whole premise behind this is I've had a pretty crazy life, a lot of dysfunction, um, and just now that I'm older, looking back on my life, thinking about, how was I able to get through all this madness? How was I able to make something out of myself? Not to say that I got it all figured out, but to be the first person in my family to graduate from college, to hold down a good job, to raise a family, to stay married, which wasn't the example given to me growing up. And if it wasn't for the grace of God, I don't think those things would have been possible. But one of the major things that made a difference in my life was mentors, whether coaches, whether other guys that came alongside me and refused to let me go down a dark path, and just instilled and spoke life into me, was very important. So I just want to give back, and that's part of what this is. So I'm here to just encourage men to accept the higher calling that we have on our lives as fathers, as husbands, as members of the community. Um, so welcome, and I hope you enjoy the content. So, like I said, I'm talking about my mom and what it was like to be raised by a single mother. So I'll go here and share my screen a second. All right. So week 5, raised by a single mom. Man, this is kind of tough. With my dad being in prison, my mom had an enormous burden on her shoulders to provide for us financially, and just for me, being a young kid, to try to teach me how to be a man, right? And that's a shame because it wasn't my mom's responsibility, and two, um, unfortunately, when men abdicate their responsibilities, and refuse to accept responsibility for the lives that they've brought into this world, and for their place in the family, it's women who have to step up to the plate and try to make things work and try to do the best they can with what's left. And that's just sad, man, that's where we're at in society now, with all the divorce and all the fatherless homes. And we've talked about in the past what happens when men are confused and in a state of confusion, and the hurt and the damage that they cause in society and in families, and in everywhere they go, right? So my mom did the best that she could, the best that she knew how. She often worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs during the week to support us, me, my brother, and my sister. Here's another picture from when we were a little bit older. We had some great help from my grandparents, who were very active in my life, my mom's parents. Um, to bridge those gaps. But for the most part, it was on my mom's shoulders, and that was an enormous burden and an enormous struggle for her. And Lord knows at times I didn't make it easy on her, especially as I got into my junior high age and early high school, and just trying to struggle with the fact that my father didn't want to be a part of my life, and starting to become a little bit rebellious, and uh, just looking for acceptance, right? Looking to feel chosen, since I didn't feel chosen by my father. The way that played out in my life is just turning towards girls, towards women, and trying to find acceptance and to feel chosen by them. Um, and maybe some sports as well, right? Like trying to be good at sports, so you can have that praise, or those accolades from the coaches, who are usually, well, for the most part, yeah, maybe all part for me, men, to hear them praise you, and tell you you're doing a good job, and that they're proud of you on just the impact that has on your life. So I'll share kind of a story here. So I was in sixth grade, and my mom, like I said, working two, sometimes three jobs to support us. Dinner usually wasn't made until late in the evening when my mom got home from her second job. So a lot of times between school and her getting home at night, I would get extremely hungry. And the way that I coped with this is I learned to steal. And we lived at this time like a block from a gas station slash convenience store. And what I would do is I would walk down to the store, sometimes before school, sometimes after school, and I would just steal a bunch of candy. I had this blue jacket that had, like, no kidding, like 20 different pockets in it, in the inside and in the outside. And I would go down these rows and wait till the store clerk wasn't watching, or at least I thought he wasn't watching, and I'd turn my back, and I'd take these things, whatever I wanted, whether it was Snickers bars, or candy, or donuts sometimes, and I would eat those, and then I would try to sell the rest at school to get a little bit of money to do whatever, buy some more stuff, or buy some more candy. So my point in telling you this is that there was this one time, and this was the middle of winter, and I was super hungry, and my mom had gotten home, and I think I asked, hey, like, what's for dinner, or what time is dinner going to be? And she said it wasn't going to be for a while because she had to do some stuff and then make dinner. And so I snuck out of the house, right? And I went down to the convenience store, and when I say it was winter, it was like a blizzard. Like, you could barely see in front of your face. But I was like, all right, well, if dinner's not going to be ready in an hour, right? Like, I thought, like, I need to be responsible for myself. I need to take this responsibility on myself for satisfying this hunger that I had. Whether it was right or wrong was obviously, now that I'm older, misplaced, right? Patience. And so I went down to the store, and I stole some stuff. And coming out of the store, I don't remember much. I just remember that it was a blizzard, and I approached the corner of a 4-lane street, and I went to step off the edge, and then the next thing I remember is waking up the next day down in the basement at my grandma's on the couch, and my first reaction was to get up off the couch and see what was going on. So I did that. I, like, turned my body, and then I put my feet on the floor like you would, and I tried to stand up, and immediately I fell over, and I fell on the ground, and I was in a lot of pain. And I heard my grandma upstairs, so she got up and she comes running down the stairs and was checking on me to make sure that I'm okay, and I'm kind of realizing what's going on. I look down, and my arm is in a sling, you know, stuck by my side, and my leg hurts like a really bad sprained ankle. So when I'm crying, and I ask my grandma, what happened to me, and she says that I got hit by a car. Well, it turns out that that night when I snuck out of the house to steal the candy and get something to eat, that on the way back when I stepped off that curb, uh, I probably didn't. Well, I shouldn't say probably. I'm pretty sure I didn't look both ways because I was notorious as a young kid for not doing that. My friend, one of my good friends, always yelled at me about looking both ways before I crossed the street. My mom would too. Um, so I got hit by this car. The lady who hit me and the people who saw it said I went flying across all four lanes up in the air, and then I landed head first on the other side of the four lanes of the street, and when I mean head first, almost like I'm diving through the air. So my head took the blunt of the impact, and then my body crumpled down, and I laid there, and they called the ambulance, and thank God that I didn't die. I don't know how, but I didn't. I was able to, I guess, kind of walk away with just a broken collarbone and a broken, or not a broken, a sprained ankle. So I tell that story just to give you an example of like here my mom was, she was sacrificing and working two jobs and doing what was necessary for us, but because me and my immaturity and my desire to have my own needs met, I took it upon myself to go and do that through a solution uh, that was just a temporary solution, and not a very good one as well, which is steal the candy. And actually, the stealing got worse from there. My mom, I don't think, realized that that's what I was doing at the time. And that led to me actually getting caught stealing some other stuff later in my life from Meijer, which, if you're not in Michigan or the Midwest, is like a giant grocery store. I don't even like superstore, like a giant Walmart or something. Maybe would be something that's comparable, right? So what also happened, right, with my life at a young age and with my mom is like our relationship. Like our relationship became very volatile uh, because I didn't know what to do with all these emotions I was feeling. I didn't know what to do with the rejection that I was feeling because of my dad. I don't even think I was able to identify at that specific time. And I was angry, and God bless my mom. I mean, she did everything that she could to help me out. She made sure I was enrolled in sports. Uh, she always encouraged me and told me that I could do anything that I put my mind to. Um, she never missed one of my games. I mean, like never. She was at every single game. Um, and she always made sure that, despite the financial challenges that I had, everything that was necessary to play sports, whether it was football pads and a helmet, or basketball shoes on the basketball court, or a mitt and a glove. My mom became extremely resourceful in getting these things for me, and she sacrificed a lot for all of us kids because she was a great mom. And I didn't realize this until I was older in my life, much older, how much my mom sacrificed on our behalf. Because I took all of my anger out, and we'll kind of get into this in an upcoming Sunday sermon about a time when my dad decided he was going to come back into our lives, and that was short-lived. And I blame my mom for that at the time, because I was too immature to realize that it was my dad and the decisions that he had made in the past and the decisions that he was making at this time as to why we couldn't be a family. Man, and I was so rude and disrespectful to my mom. I mean, I was just a dick. and my mom didn't deserve that. Uh, it's sad, to be honest with you. And my mom was going through a lot in her own life with her own personal stuff with work and trying to be in a relationship with someone who cared about her as much as she cared about them. And uh, I mean, if I was in my mom's shoes, I tell her this all the time. I don't think I could have done it any better. I don't think I could have. I would have made any different decisions. My mom did the best that she knew with what she had to work with. What this led to me doing is when I was older, and I realized this, right? Like I was convicted to write to apologize to my mom. So this is kind of like maybe a pro tip, if that's what you want to call it. But I would strongly encourage you, right? Like if there's something, a conversation that you got to have with another person, and you got to apologize, or you got to talk about something that's hard. I strongly suggest you write them a letter. And the reason I suggest a letter, you start there, is because you can get all your thoughts down on paper without being interrupted, and without it being too confrontational, right? Because if you approach a person and you speak to them, and it's a deep subject, they're going to have their thoughts and opinions on it, and sometimes that derails you from being able to get everything off your chest in a constructive manner. So what I did is I prayed about it, and I wrote my mom this letter, and then I was part of a small group of men at that time, and I let them, or I read it to them and asked them what they thought, because I wanted to be truthful and share this stuff with my mom and how I felt, but also apologize. But I wanted to do it in a way that was honoring of my mom. And the other guys, they gave me their feedback and told me that it was honorable. So I was able to proceed. That's just good wisdom that I'm sharing with you guys, is to share those, that if you decide to do that, or maybe if you don't decide to write a letter but you need to have a conversation, is to share what you're thinking with some people you can trust, and listen to their feedback right before you just. Right, sometimes we get in this habit of we're just gonna storm the gates, and we're just gonna tell this person, and we're gonna just lay it on them, and it is what it is, right? But it's not true. And in the long scheme of things, that's not what's healthy, and that's probably more often than not what's best, the best way to approach that. So I had to apologize to my mom, and it wasn't necessarily about me expecting a response from her doing this. The freedom came in me just being able to share those things with my mom and acknowledge everything that she sacrificed on her behalf for us kids, and her just going over and above, right, and releasing her of any responsibility that she carried that wasn't rightfully hers, right? Because only men can teach other men manhood. Only one man can bestow manhood on another man. And God bless moms, single moms who are out there and they're grinding and they're trying to hold the family together and do their best, for their kids. And that's not to say that there's not single dads, but the reality is there's far more single moms out there who step up to the plate and do what's right and accept the responsibility that men aren't accepting in this world. You know what? And that's got to change, and that's got to change with us, with you, if you're a brother and you're watching this video, right? And just the responsibility we have over our kids and over our family. So I won't go there. I go there enough on other nights. I think I got one more picture here. Oh, look at that. Family photo. That's another thing my mom always did, is she always did a good job of arranging family things for us. Even now that we're older, even with my kids and my sister, my mom is always making it a point to bring us all together to do stuff as a family, whether that's bowling or going sledding or lots of activities. She wants us to be a good family and to remain close, because that's what matters, right? Family matters. Probably almost more than anything. Second to your relationship with God, is your relationship with your family. So I don't know if you're watching this, Mom, but thank you once again for everything that you did for me. I know that sometimes you give yourself a hard time about some of the things that we went through and some of the things that we saw and were exposed to. Those things weren't your fault. You went above and beyond to try to make the relationship work, to try to salvage as much as you could, to try to instill in me and Valerie and Anthony to treat others as we want to be treated, to respect those that are older than us, respect authority. You showed us what it looked like to work hard and to sacrifice, and I'll never forget those things, Mom. So I thank you. And brothers, if your mom's still alive, maybe send her a quick note and tell her how much you love her and you appreciate her and all that they do for us. It doesn't just have to be Mother's Day to show our appreciation towards our mom. So that's it for the Sunday sermon. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. If you're wondering who I'm rooting for, which you probably could care less, but I'm all for the Patriots. And before I get too many boos or whatever about that, the reason that I like the Patriots is I just think Tom Brady's like he's probably the greatest draft pick ever, right? 6th round, I think it's like 182 draft pick or whatever. If you look up his picture of what he wore to the combine, it's just a shame. I mean, he just looked horrible. And you know what? The ball's on the guy to tell whoever it was, I think it was the owner of the Patriots at the time, that he was going to be the best quarterback that they ever had. And then, he talked about it, but he went out and he did something about it, So I just admire that. Thanks, Lothar. She did do a great job. I just admire him following through on that, and the underdog story that kind of he was. So that's why I'll be rooting for the Patriots. And just for him to be, 40-something years old, 42, I think, still doing what he does, was pretty amazing. So tomorrow's My Life Monday. I got some good stuff that I'm going to share with you tomorrow, some stuff that's been placed on my heart that I hope makes your life better and your day better. So have a good night. I love you, brothers. Thanks for tuning in and for watching this, and just everything that I'm trying to do to help other guys reach their potential. So talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night.